everybody, Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me, and welcome back to another episode. It's Tuesday, March the 20th, episode 21. Very excited for you guys to be here. Thank you very much. We got a lot to cover on the show today. There's first things first, actually. I want to start the show off with some breaking news. TST will continue onwards each week doing episodes, and the breaking news is that we're going to be introducing a segment that will feature the Owen Sound Senior B North Stars lacrosse team. Very excited about that. We're going to speak with Chris McGregor next week on the program. He's going to tell us all about what's upcoming for the Owen Sound Senior B lacrosse team, the North Stars, out of Owen Sound. Yeah. So we're going to partner up with them, and we're going to feature them on our show on a weekly basis. Give you all the ins and outs of the Owen Sound North Stars. So Senior B lacrosse. It's an interesting venture for me. I grew up liking lacrosse because I feel like it's kind of a lot like hockey in a way. But it'll be fun to be able to cover it. I've got hockey. I've got basketball that I cover, and I'm trying to venture out, I guess, with a little bit of golf coverage every now and then, and so on and so forth. So yes, very excited about covering lacrosse this summer, and obviously getting back into Blue Jays. We got plenty that we want to talk about there as well. But what I want to do now is just start off the show because there's a lot to cover and only so much time, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to get things started with the WOAA Senior AA Men's Hockey League. It was a huge weekend this past weekend, mainly in the A division, and mainly for the Petrolia Squires, who ended up beating the Tavistock Royals 3-2 in overtime on Friday to capture the A championship. That's right, folks. 4-1 was the series win for the Petrolia Squires. They take that series 4-1, and the last two wins for them coming in overtime. So it was a pretty tight-knit series, and congratulations, obviously. TST congratulates Petrolia Squires on winning the A Division title. That's quite an accomplishment for them, and congratulations, like I said. Switching over to the AA side of it, the championship series, it's 2-0. Clinton Radars lead that series after a pair of wins, a 3-2 victory in game number 1 and a 6-4 victory in game number 2. Clinton over Durham. The Durham Thundercats, they're down 2-0, and they got a heavy climb to go to get back into this series. The Clinton Radars are no slouch. Man, they went 20-0 in the regular season. They're 10-2 so far in the playoff series, and they look unstoppable. The Durham Thundercats are a very good team. I saw them up close and personal in the series in the first round against Saugeen Shores, and this team is no joke either. But Clinton Radars have a huge 2-0 advantage 2 games into the series, and it's going to take monumental effort. As we look now at the series page, as you can see, 2-0. Clinton leads the series right now. The next game upcoming has game number 3 going between Durham and Clinton. It's in Clinton, and the start time for that is 8:30. That goes Friday, March the 23rd. And then this weekend, also continuing on, Clinton's in Durham. It's a 1:30 start in game number 4, Saturday, March the 24th. If it should go any further, we should go Thursday, March the 29th, Friday, March the 30th, and Saturday, March 31st, 3-3 to end this series, games 5, 6, and 7. A lot of travel there, but again, if this series goes that far, it'll be necessary to determine a AA champion. But 2 great teams, Clinton, Durham, they've played their hearts out to this point in the season. Clinton has the early lead 2-0 in the series, and it should be a lot of fun moving forward. But we'll continue to cover it as long as it goes right here on TST Total Sports Talk. We'll be right back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. I am your host, creator, and be all to end all on this show. Thank you very much for watching and continuing to follow TST week after week. Thank you very much for that. We turn our attention now to the Ontario Hockey League, where the regular season is in the books and the playoffs are upon us. But first, we want to talk about the Owen Sound Attack's final week of the regular season. First and foremost, it was a visit to the Dort Federal Event Center in Flint, Michigan. The Attack downing the Flint Firebirds 7-1 was the final. Attack improving to 36-22, 3-5 on the year. Flint dropping to 19-42, 3-5. Olivier Lafreniere got the win, 28 of 29 in the net for the Attack, while Luke Cavalin suffered the loss for the Flint Firebirds, stopping 15 of 20 before being replaced by Garrett Forrest, who stopped 14 of 16 the rest of the way. Scoring the lone goal for the Flint Firebirds was Jack Wismer, his 8th, and it was assisted by Ethan Keppen. On the Attack side of things, Alan Lethargic and Dalen Grew had 2 apiece. Ethan Zapula, Brett McKenzie, and Nick Suzuki adding singles, while Zapula and McKenzie both added 2 assists for 3-point nights. Like I said, improved the Attack's record to 36-22, 3-5. The following night, they were into Windsor, into the WFCU Center to take on the Windsor Spitfires. Attack coming out on top. 9-2 was the final in this one. Attack improving the record at 37-22, 3-5, while the Spitfires go to 30-30, 4-2. Michael DiPietro started, but his night would end early. 17-21 as he stopped in the loss for the Windsor Spitfires. Olivier Lafreniere stopped 17 of only 19 shots he faced for the victory. Nick Suzuki had a hat-trick to give him 40 on the season, while Jonah Gadjevich had a 3-point night, adding his 25th. Dalen Grew also scored. Ethan Zapula and Maxim Sushko with his 31st found the back of the net. Scoring for the Windsor Spitfires was Matthew McDougall with his 17th and Jake Smith with his 17th, adding assists for Cole Purbu and William Sermon. But again, it was all Attack on this night. 9-2 was the final. Finally, the Attack wrapped up their regular season with a visit from the Sarnia Sting to the Bayshore and Owen Sound. Attack winning 9-4 was the final and securing home ice advantage in the playoffs in their first round against the London Knights. The Attack improving to 38-22, 3-5, while the Sarnia Sting fall to 46-17, 4-1 with the 9-4 final. Olivier Lafreniere picked up the win again, 20 of 24. Stopping in the victory, while Aiden Hughes started for Sarnia. He allowed all 47 saves on 56 shots. Nick Suzuki added 2 goals and an assist to give him 42 goals and 58 assists on the season, good for 100 points. Brett McKenzie would score twice, his 21st and 22nd of the season, while Jackson Doherty added his 6th and 7th. Aiden Dudas had his 31st, and Brady Lyle with his 11th. Scoring for the Sarnia Sting was Braden Guy with his 7th and 8th, Ryan McGregor with his 13th, and Michael Pizzetta with his 23rd. But it was all Attack again in this one. 9-4 was the final. Attack winning their final 6 games of the regular season. They get home ice in the first round against the London Knights. Looking now at your OHL Attack top 10, we have Nick Suzuki, who led the way, 42 and 58 for 100, good for the lead on the Owen Sound Attack. Kevin Hancock, number 2, 24 and 45 for 69. Aiden Dudas was 3rd, 31 and 34 for 65. Maxim Shushko, 31 and 28 for 59. Ethan Zapula with 19 and 37, good for 56. Brett McKenzie, 22 and 27 for 49. Sean Dursey, 15 and 34 for 49. Jonah Gadjevich, 25 and 23 for 48. Alan Lethargic, 21 and 20 for 41. And Marcus Phillips, 10 and 29 for 39. That rounds out your top 10 for the Attack. On the OHL side of it, you had Aaron Luchuk lead the way amongst OHL scorers. He had 50 goals, 65 assists, good for 115 points. He led the league in goals with teammate Dmitry Sokolov, who also scored 50. Morgan Frost was second on the OHL scorers. He had 42 goals, 70 assists, good for 112. Jordan Kyrou, 39 and 70, good for 109. Frost and Kyrou both tied for the assist lead with 70 apiece. Rounding out your top 5 was Nick Suzuki. He finished 4th. Dmitry Sokolov of the Barrie Colts, 50 and 46, good for 96. Sam Militek, Jason Robertson, Evan Bouchard, Adam Mascarin, and Boris Kachuk rounded out your OHL's top 10. What we want to do now is have a look at our OHL playoff matchups. We want to start in the Eastern Conference. We have the Hamilton Bulldogs going up against the number 8 Ottawa 67s. Hamilton, the tail of the tape goes like this. Hamilton finishing 43-18, 4-3, scoring 252 goals, 207 against. Leading scorers Robert Thomas, good for 75 points in the year, while goaltender Caden Fulcher went 32-17-3 to lead the Bulldogs. On the other side of things, Ottawa 67s, 30-29-6-3. They scored 225 times, getting scored on 260. Their leading scorer is Sasha Chmelevski. He had 76 points on the season, while their top goaltender is Olivier Tremblay, 25-15-3 on the year. Should be a dandy of a series, though, between the Bulldogs and the 67s. Our second matchup is the Barrie Colts at number 2 against the number 7 Mississauga Steelheads. Barrie finishing 42-21, 4-1, while the Steelheads are 33-32, 1-2. The difference in the goals is uncanny. Barrie 297 goals, as opposed to Mississauga's 251. They only allowed 229 as opposed to Mississauga's 250. Their leading scorer, Aaron Luchuk, 115 points on the year, while Nicholas Haig led the Mississauga Steelheads with 78 points. Leo Lazarev had 32 wins over the course of the season for the Barrie Colts, while Emmanuel Vela had added 17 wins for the Steelheads this season. Our third matchup has the Kingston Frontenacs against the North Bay Battalion. Kingston went 36-23, 6-3 on the year, while North Bay went 30-28, 7-3. Their leading goal scorer on the Kingston Frontenacs was Jason Robertson with 87 points, while North Bay counters with Justin Brazeau. He had 75 points. Goaltender Jeremy Helvig won 31 games, losing 16 and losing 2 in the shootout, while goaltender Christian Propp was the leading goaltender on the North Bay Battalion. He had 19 wins over the course of the season. Our final matchup of the Eastern Conference is the number 4 Niagara Ice Dogs and the number 5 Oshawa Generals. Niagara finishing at 35-23, 7-3, while the Oshawa Generals at 36-29, 3-3 got the number 5 spot. Sam Militek of the Niagara Ice Dogs led the way, 92 points over the course of the season, most of those with the London Knights. And then Oshawa Jack Stednika had 72 points on the season. Goaltender Stephen Dillon of the Niagara Ice Dogs finished with 28 wins. Same with Kyle Kaiser of the Oshawa Generals. He had 28 wins as well. What we want to do now is look a little bit more in depth into one of these series in the Eastern Conference. And for that, we bring in Reed Duthie, play-by-play man on Cable 14 for the Hamilton Bulldogs.
We welcome in Reed Duthie now of the Hamilton Bulldogs. He's the play-by-play guy on Cable 14. How you doing today, Reed?
Oh, always good, my friend. Always good.
It's a pleasure to talk with you. Hamilton, number 1 seed. What is that to you? Like, what does that sound like? How awesome is that?
Well, it's huge. When you go back to the lack of success that we had in Hamilton for quite some time, at the end of the AHL Bulldogs run, things just weren't coming together, and there were multiple reasons behind that. The Montreal Canadiens had some trouble with the draft. They didn't have great success, which when you're an AHL city, it means that you're getting those players and you're watching them grow that the parent club has drafted. Well, all the top players had gone on to Montreal in the recent years, and Carey Price and PK Subban, Max Pacioretty, Brendan Gallagher, but that second level that you need to be successful for an AHL group wasn't there. So getting the OHL team to come in, and over the past 3 seasons, seeing the same players night in, night out, getting to follow them on their development through the past 3 seasons has been massive. And now you get to see all of that pay off. And, of course, a couple of additions as well, bringing in Rob Thomas late just after the World Juniors doesn't hurt either. So this city should get right behind this team and follow them for what should be a long spring.
Now, for those like myself who watch primarily the Western Conference, there are some OHL fans out there that could look at the Eastern Conference and say it's the doormat of the West. If I was one of those people, how would you convince me otherwise?
Well, I think you got to look at the talent depth. And when you take a look at the top of the Eastern Conference, there are probably more teams in the West that right now are competitive with the top group than there are in the East. But you look at the top 3 teams in the Eastern Conference: Hamilton, Barrie, Kingston. The talent depth among those 3 teams is outstanding, and to the point where when London sold, they mainly sold to Kingston and Hamilton. So Cliff Pugh and Sean Day and Gabriel Velarde all joined the Kingston Frontenacs. In return, Ryan Moore, Nick Camano, Rob Thomas, Nick Mattman, Riley Stillman all joined the Hamilton Bulldogs. And then, of course, the very close go get Aaron Luchuk from the Windsor Spitfires and Dmitry Sokolov, who scored 50 goals this season, from the Sudbury Wolves. So those three teams right at the top of the standings are as deep as anyone. They can all roll four lines, and you saw it during the season, they were right there with the top teams in the West, outside of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, who, when healthy, are a complete juggernaut.
Sure, yeah, no question. That's the big question, is whether or not any of these East teams of the 8 that have qualified can take down a potential Sioux Greyhounds, Sarnia Sting, and so on and so forth.
Well, I think you're looking at two different classes there. The Greyhounds are standing by themselves. I think Sarnia or Kitchener, if they break through the West and they find the magic potion to be able to get themselves past the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, they are a very interesting matchup for Eastern Conference teams. The
Sure.
two times that Kitchener and Sarnia both played the Bulldogs, it was nip and tuck right to the end of the game. And I believe in all 4 of those games, Hamilton did not have Rob Thomas.
Right.
And he is a huge difference maker overall. So I think those series could be incredibly interesting. The one that, of course, everybody's got the question about is what happens if Hamilton or any of these teams play the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Hamilton beat them once on home ice, 5-1, then went to the Sioux and lost 10-0. And people thought, well, then it was a fluke. But on home ice, the next game for the Greyhounds, they beat the Sarnia Sting 7-1.
Right.
So what do you take into account most? I just think that Sioux Greyhounds team is on a mission, but the West is going to be tough. They've got to stay healthy, and they've got to have enough gas in the tank when they get to the end. So do the Bulldogs. So do the Front, so do the Colts, whoever comes out of the East. But I think it's going to be very tough for the Greyhounds to keep pace all the way through.
Absolutely, I agree with you there. Let's talk about the matchup. Hamilton Bulldogs against the number 8 Ottawa 67s. On paper, this looks like a no-brainer. Hamilton should advance quite easily. What would be the one reason why they would have trouble with the 67s?
Defense and commitment to defense. The 67s will play a very tight game because they know they have to. They've got an explosive first line that's got Travis Barron and Sasha Chmielewski on it. They've got a strong defense, and they can get goaltending in key situations. But for the 67s, they're going to play a team that's going to roll 4 lines relentlessly. They're going to have to deal with pressure in their face all the time. That's going to be really, really difficult for them to be able to match up with for what would have to be, if Ottawa won, a long series. Their best chance is to get out fast on visitors' ice in Hamilton, try to blitz the Bulldogs early on, put up a couple of goals in game 1, try to force the Bulldogs onto their heels, steal one on the road, take it back to Ottawa with momentum. I think if Hamilton wins the first 2 games of the series, Ottawa is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, no, the fast start is crucial, no question. I guess my final question to you is, if you had to pick one player on the Hamilton Bulldogs that's going to be the big difference in the series for them to advance, who would you say that has to be?
Well, I think conventional wisdom would say it would be somebody on that top line of Rob Thomas, Mackenzie Entwistle, and Matt Strome. However, Andrew, as you know, I am nothing if not unconventional.
Sure.
So I am going to take Will Bitton. He's going to play up against his brother Sam. His parents are going to be watching. Everybody knows this story about Sam Bitton and Will Bitton facing off with one another. Right. He wants to prove that the Montreal Canadiens made the right decision by giving him his entry-level contract this season. His speed, his tenacity, and the fact he's going to go up against second-paired defensemen with line mates Ryan Moore and Nick Camano, oh, that's a scary prospect. And if Will Bitton finds any open ice, he will make the 67s pay for it.
Well, I got to tell you, Reed, it's been a pleasure to talk with you about the OHL Playoffs and the Hamilton Bulldogs. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to do this for us. Thanks very much.
Hey, no problem, buddy. And if you're by the First Ontario Center anytime around the playoffs, come on by. I'd be happy to show you around the booth.
I appreciate that a lot, man. Thanks very much.
So we thank Reed again for doing that for us. It was really appreciated. Now, Hamilton and Ottawa, they will get their series started underway Thursday, as well as Barrie and Mississauga. They'll get started on Thursday as well. The other series in the East, Kingston, North Bay, and Niagara and Oshawa, they'll start on Friday. We look now, though, at the western side of it, as we start with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, who finished number 1 overall. They take on number 8 Saginaw. Sault Ste. Marie finishing with 55 wins, 7 losses, 3 overtime losses, and 3 shootout losses. They scored a league-high 317 goals this season while allowing 186. Saginaw comes in 196 goals for, the 238 against. Morgan Frost finished the season leading the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds 112 points on the year, while goaltender Matthew Villalta had 40 wins for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, only losing 5 times in regulation. Mason Cohn led the Saginaw in scoring with 54 points, while Evan Cormier went 24, 24, and 3 on the year for the Spirit. The second matchup has the Kitchener Rangers and the Guelph Storm in a battle of Highway 7. Kitchener went 43, 21, 3, and 1 on the year, while Guelph went 30, 29, 5, and 4. Adam Mascarin led the Kitchener Rangers in scoring 86 points, while Isaac Ratcliffe racked up 68 points for the Guelph Storm to lead them. Goaltender Luke Richardson had 23 wins over the course of the season for the Rangers, while Anthony Povich had 29 Ws for the Storm. It should be a dandy of a series anytime these two teams match up, Kitchener and the Guelph Storm. Our third matchup is the Sarnia Sting at number 3 versus the number 6 Windsor Spitfires. Sarnia at 46-17, 4-1, and the Spitfires at 32-30, 4-2. Sarnia scoring 299 goals over the course of the season while allowing only 213. Windsor scoring 214, allowing 224. Jordan Kyrou led the Sting in scoring with 109 points over the course of the season, while goaltender Justin Fazio was very solid for the Sting. 37 wins over the course of the season, only losing 11 times in regulation. Cole Purbu led the Windsor Spitfires in scoring, 49 points for him, while Michael DiPietro had 29 wins in the crease for the Spits. And finally, in the Western Conference, you have the Owen Sound Attack and the London Knights, 4 and 5 respectively. Owen Sound finishing at 38, 22, 3 and 5, while the London Knights went 39, 25, 2 and 2. Owen Sound scoring a ridiculous 289 goals while allowing 247. London, on the other hand, 233 and 212. Scorer Nick Suzuki at 100 points even for the attack led the way. Olivia Lafreniere, 20 wins on the season for the Owen Sound Attack. Well, Evan Bouchard, the defenseman, captain of the London Knights, 25 and 62, good for 87. Goaltender Joseph Raymaker, solid season for the London Knights. He went 29, 13, and 3 on the year. So yes, in the Western Conference, it shakes down like this. The Owen Sound series gets underway on Thursday with the London Knights, and then the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds and Saginaw will get underway on Friday, and then you have the final 2 series, which are, excuse me a second, the Kitchener Rangers and the Sarnia Sting. They go Friday as well in the Ontario Hockey League for the playoff series. It's going to be an incredible race to Regina for the 100th Memorial Cup tournament. It should be a dandy of an OHL playoff series, and we will keep you up to date as we go along to each and every one of those series as we race towards crowning an OHL champion and an OHL representative in the 100th Memorial Cup tournament. This has been the OHL segment for this week's episode of TST. We'll be right back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here, your host of TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here. Hope you're enjoying the episode thus far. We've reached a point in the program now where we want to talk about the National Hockey League and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs racing down to the end of the season. The NHL is getting there, man. We are very close. I mean, the Leafs only have a handful of games left. They sit in the number 3 spot, and it's going to be a race to the finish for a lot of these teams. But let's get you caught up on what happened with the Leafs this past week. They started at the ACC in Toronto with a matchup against the Dallas Stars. They were in town. Maple Leafs coming out on top 6-5 in the shootout. Maple Leafs improving to 41, 22 and 7, while the Dallas Stars fall to 38, 26 and 7. Goaltender Curtis McElhaney would pick up the victory in this one. He stopped 13 of 15 in relief of Frederick Anderson, who went down with injury. after stopping 17 of 20 before giving way. McElhaney picking up the victory here. Kerry Lettinen, on the other hand, suffered the loss, stopping 28 of 33 in the Dallas Stars net. Scoring for the Maple Leafs was James Van Riemsdyk. He had a hat-trick in the game, his 27th, 28th, and 29th on the year, while Nazem Kadri and Patrick Marleau adding singles apiece. For Kadri, his 27th. For Marleau, his 22nd. Mitch Marner and Tyler Bozak both picking up a pair of assists. On the Dallas Stars side, it was Tyler Seguin adding a goal and 2 assists, good for 37 on the year, while Jamie Benn added 2 points, a goal and an assist. He has 25 on the year. Adding singles are Radek Faksa, his 14th, Brett Ritchie with his 6th, and Remy Ellie with his 6th. In the shootout skills portion of the game, we had Tyler Bozak and Mitch Marner score for the Maple Leafs, while Tyler Seguin and Alexander Radulov were both stopped by Curtis McElhaney. Maple Leafs winning, like I said, 6-5 in the shootout in this one. Maple Leafs would then continue their week the following night with a visit to the KeyBank Center in Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Sabres. Maple Leafs coming out on top 5-2, avenging a loss from 10 days ago. Maple Leafs improving to 42-22-7 on the year, while the Sabres fall to 22-36-12. Goaltender Curtis McElhaney getting his second consecutive, or his start in place of injured Frederik Andersen, stopped 38 of 40 in the victory, while goaltender Robin Lehner of the Buffalo Sabres stopped 34 of 38 in the loss. Scoring for your Maple Leafs was James Van Riemsdyk. He continued hot. He has 5 in the last 2 games. He is up to 31 on the year now. He also added an assist for a 3-point night. Patrick Marleau would score his 23rd, Tyler Bozak with his 11th, and Connor Carrick with his 4th. Morgan Riley would add a helper. Scoring for the Buffalo Sabres was Sam Reinhart with his 18th, and Jameson Palmville was his 12th. Like I said, Maple Leafs victorious in this one. 5-2 was the final. And then finally, the Toronto Maple Leafs would wrap up their week with a visit from the Montreal Canadiens to the ACC in Toronto. Maple Leafs all over the Canadiens in this one. 4-0 was the final. Charlie Lindgren had a very solid outing, but he was on the losing end, stopping 45 of 49 in the Montreal net. He couldn't do anything more than what he did. Maple Leafs, like I said, improving to 43-22-7, while Montreal falls to 26-34-12. Curtis McElhaney getting his second consecutive start, stopped 33 for the shutout. Nazem Kadri scored his 28th, William Nylander his 15th, Kasperi Kapanen his 6th, and a real nice story here, Andreas Janssen scoring his first NHL goal in his second NHL game. He was paraded by 4 other Maple Leafs for the goal celebration, all of which happened to be Toronto Marley 2 seasons ago when they were making their playoff run. Mitch Marner would also add an assist for the Maple Leafs. It's their 4th straight win, 12th straight at home, a franchise record. Austin Matthews missed his 9th straight game with a sore shoulder. He hopes to return to the lineup soon. Want to flip over now and take a look at your Toronto Maple Leafs leading scorers. Mitch Marner leads the way now. He has a healthy lead over William Nylander, 8-point advantage, 19 goals, 41 assists, good for 60 points. Nylander has 15 and 37, good for 52. Austin Matthews, 28 and 22 at 50. He's still stuck there after going on 9 games missed now. Nazem Kadri has 4th, 28 and 21, 1 behind Matthews at 49. James Van Riemsdyk is up to 31. He has 16 assists, good for 47 points to round out your top 5. Morgan Riley, Jake Gardner, Patrick Marleau, Tyler Bozak, and Zach Hyman round out your top 10. JVR leads the team in goals with 31. William Nylander, Jake Gardner leads the team in assists with 39. Switching over now to your NHL leaders, Nikita Kucherov continues to lead the way. He has 93 points at this point in the season, 36 and 57. Good for those 93. Nathan McKinnon has surged all the way to the second spot. He has 38 and 51, good for 89. He's in a 3-way tie for second with Connor McDavid and Evgeny Malkin. Claude Giroux is the number 5. He has 26 and 58 for 84, as he's tied with Steven Stamkos of the Tampa Bay Lightning. 27 and 57, good for 84. Johnny Gaudreau and Anze Kopitar, Blake Wheeler, and Phil Kessel round out your top 10 scorers in the National Hockey League. We want to switch you up now and show you update you on the standings across the league. We start in the Atlantic Division. We have the Tampa Bay Lightning at number 1 in the Atlantic. They have clinched a playoff spot. They are 49-19-4, good for 102 points, 3 better than the Boston Bruins at 99. They are 45-17-9. And then you have the Toronto Maple Leafs at 43-22-7 at 93. They are 6 points behind the Boston Bruins at this point in the season. The Florida Panthers at 36-27-7 at 79 points. They are still sticking around in the wild card, as you can see. Then you have Montreal, Ottawa, Detroit, and Buffalo at the basement of the Atlantic. Switching over now to the Metro as we get in depth of the wild card. Washington leads the way in the Metro by 2 points over Pittsburgh at 89-87. And then you have Philadelphia at 85, 2 points back at the Pittsburgh Penguins. They were also tied with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who currently hold the number one wild card. Philadelphia at 37-25-11, while Columbus is at 40-28-5. You have the New Jersey Devils at 37-27-8. They are 3 points back of both teams. They are in the second wild card spot. It is the Florida Panthers within 3 points of the New Jersey Devils for the second wild card. Then you have Carolina, New York Rangers, and the New York Islanders, all with their hopes fading in that wild card chase. Switching over now to your Western Conference situation, we have the Nashville Predators leading the Central Division. They have 106 points. They are 4 points better than Tampa for the number one overall record. They have clinched a playoff berth after going to the Stanley Cup final last season. They have a healthy 10-point advantage over the Winnipeg Jets, who are at number 2. They are 43-19-10 on the year, good for 96 points. You have the Minnesota Wild at 41-24-8. They have 90 points. You have Colorado at 39-25-8 at 86 points. They currently lock down the number one wild card situation. The Dallas Stars at 84 points and the St. Louis Blues at 83 are still within sniffing distance of a wild card spot. As we switch over to the Pacific Division, you have the Vegas Golden Knights at 97 points. They seem primed to finish in the number one spot in the Pacific. 46-21-5 on the year. San Jose at 40-23-9 have 89 points, 3 better than the LA Kings, who are at number 3. 40-27-6 on the year, good for 86. They are tied with the Anaheim Ducks. However, the Anaheim Ducks are in second wildcard spot. The LA Kings, Anaheim Ducks, and Colorado Avalanche all with 86 points. Anaheim 37-24-12 hold the second wildcard. You have Calgary at 35-29-10 holding in there at 80 points. And then Edmonton, Vancouver, and Arizona with no hope of catching anybody really. But as you can see, so a lot of great matchups across the board. If the playoffs were to start today, however, they do not. Who knows? There could be some moving and shaking. But there are a lot of situations that you can see now that are forming that will probably most likely stick into place, like the Boston Bruins and Toronto Maple Leafs meeting in the first round, for example. That looks like a foregone conclusion. Tampa gets hot at the right time. And you know what? It could end up being Boston-Toronto, which seemed to be the matchup that most people have thought is coming for quite some time now. As we look ahead to the Toronto Maple Leafs' upcoming schedule, it's not an easy start to the week for the Toronto Maple Leafs as they visit the Amalie Arena in Tampa, Florida to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's a 7:30 puck drop tonight in Tampa. Then you got Thursday, March the 22nd. They are in Nashville to take on the Predators at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, Tennessee. That's an 8 o'clock puck drop there. And then finally their schedule gets a little bit easier this weekend. On Saturday on Hockey Night in Canada, March 24th, they are at the ACC in Toronto to take on the visiting Detroit Red Wings. That's a 7 p.m. puck drop. And then they wrap their week with a visit from the Buffalo Sabres next Monday, March the 26th at the ACC. It's a 7 p.m. puck drop against the Buffalo Sabres. It's the first of the last 2 matchups against the Buffalo Sabres over their season series. They played them a ton in the last few weeks, but they have this matchup coming up, and they have another matchup coming up towards the end of the season. So a couple big points that they can't let afford to slip away. But it's a fantastic race to the finish in the NHL, in the NHL's regular season. It should be a lot of fun, and we look forward to covering it next week and the week after that and all the preceding weeks, right up until we crown the 125th Stanley Cup champion. This has been your NHL report for this week's episode of TST. We'll be right back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you're enjoying the episode thus far. We've reached a point in the program now where we want to talk about the National Basketball Association, and more specifically the Toronto Raptors and what's going on with them. The Raptors, they're on a red-hot roll of late. They cannot lose, it seems, and they had a pretty favorable week as opposed to one matchup that would prove difficult, and we're going to get to that in a moment. But first, We want to start with the first game of last week for the Toronto Raptors, which was a visit to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, to take on the Brooklyn Nets. Raptors winning this one 116-102 was the final. Raptors improving to 50-17 on the year, while Brooklyn falls to 21-47. Jonas Valanciunas, he had a double-double, 26 points, 14 boards. DeMar DeRozan with 15 and 7 boards. Kyle Lowry with a double-double of his own. He had 11 points, 11 assists. D'Angelo Russell led all scorers in the basketball game. He had 32 points and 7 rebounds, while Rondé Hollis-Jefferson had 19 points and 7 rebounds in the loss for the Brooklyn Nets. Like I said, Raptors come out on top. 116-102 was the final. They would continue their week with a visit to the Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, to take on the Indiana Pacers. Raptors coming out on top in this one again. 106-99 was the final. Raptors improving to 51-17, while the Pacers fall to 40-29. DeMar DeRozan led the way for the Raptors, 24 points, 7 assists in the victory, while Jonas Valanciunas, another double-double, 16 points, 17 boards. He was a monster on the glass for the Raptors. Serge Ibaka also had a double-double with 13 points, 11 boards. For the Indiana Pacers, Darren Collison scored 22, while Al Jefferson had 20 and 12 rebounds, and Victor Oladipo with 18 and 5 rebounds, but it was not enough as the Pacers fall to the Raptors. 106-99 again was the final. Raptors then would continue their week with a visit from the Dallas Mavericks into the ACC in Toronto to take on the Raptors. Raptors coming out victorious on this one for their 11th straight victory. 122-115 was the final. Raptors improving to 52-17, while the Dallas Mavericks fall to 22-47. DeMar once again leading the way, 29 points, 6 assists for him in the game, while Valanciunas again had another double-double, 21 points, 12 boards. DeLon Wright had a beauty of a game though, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists in the victory. Leading the way for the Dallas Mavericks was Harrison Barnes, 27 points, 5 rebounds for him, while Dennis Smith Jr. added 19. J.J. Barea added 18 and 6 assists in the loss. Mavericks falling to the Raptors 122-115. Like I said, Raptors 11th straight victory. And then finally, the Raptors would wrap their week with arguably the toughest test of the season, and unfortunately they come out on the losing end. 132-125 at the hands of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Raptors seeing their record fall to 52-18, while the Oklahoma City Thunder go to 43-29. Russell Westbrook led the way as he always does for the Thunder. He had 37 points, 13 boards, and 14 assists for the triple-double. It seems like all he does. Steven Adams absolutely demolished the Raptors. He couldn't do anything wrong in the game. He had 25 points, 8 boards, a lot of those points coming in the first quarter. Paul George added 22 and 5, Carmelo Anthony with 15, and Corey Brewer with 10. DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry did all they could, but unfortunately it was not enough. DeRozan 24 points, 5 assists, while Lowry added 22 and 10. It's the Raptors' first loss in their last 12, their third loss since February 1st. It's their first loss in the month of March, and their 6th all season at the Air Canada Centre. This one was mired in controversy as DeMar DeRozan, Serge Ibaka, and Dwayne Casey were all ejected in a crazy fourth quarter late in the game. Kyle Lowry fouling out, and there was a lot of controversy for a lot of non-calls potentially. And you know what? It's unfortunate to see the Raptors win streak end because of this, in a game that they were very much in and they had a very much good chance to win. But unfortunately, they would come up on the losing end against the Oklahoma City Thunder. We now move on to your standings in the Eastern Conference. We'll start there. Toronto Raptors holding the first spot by 5 games over the Celtics. They are 52-18. Boston at 47-23 are number 2. Cleveland at 41-29 are now in the number 3 spot. You have the Indiana Pacers at 41-30 in the number 4. Washington Wizards at 40-30 are number 5. 76ers 39-30 at 6. Miami Heat at 38-33 are 7. Milwaukee Bucks at 37-33 are number 8. You have the Detroit Pistons at 31-39 at number 9, and then the Charlotte Hornets 30-41 at number 10. Still technically in it, but it's a long shot. The Knicks, the Bulls, the Brooklyn Nets, the Orlando Magic, and the Atlanta Hawks have all been eliminated from postseason contention on the East side. Over on the west side, you have the Houston Rockets at 56-14. They lead the Golden State Warriors by 3.5 games for the number 1 spot. Golden State has also clinched the playoff spot. They are 53-18 on the year. You have the Portland Trailblazers at 44-26. They are 12 games behind the Houston Rockets, far way away. The Oklahoma City Thunder are number 4 at 43-29. The Spurs back up to the number 5 spot. They are 41-30. You have the Utah Jazz at 40-30, the New Orleans Pelicans at 40-30, and the Minnesota Timberwolves at 40-31, rounding out top 8. You have the LA Clippers on the outside looking in, 2 games behind the Minnesota Timberwolves at 37-32, and then you have the Denver Nuggets at 38-33, also 2 games behind. You have the LA Lakers still technically in it, but it's a long shot, 31-39 for the Lakers at number 11. And then you have the Sacramento Kings, Dallas Mavericks, Memphis Grizzlies, and the Phoenix Suns are all been eliminated from postseason contention. Now, looking ahead for your Toronto Raptors, they got another busy week, another 4-game slate. It starts tonight in Orlando against the Orlando Magic at the Amway Center in Orlando, Florida. The tip-off there is 7 p.m. They follow that up the following night, Wednesday, March the 21st. They are in Cleveland to take on LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. And at the Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, Ohio, it's a 7 p.m. tip-off between the Raptors and the Cavaliers. Then finally, they continue their week. Friday, March the 23rd, they are at the ACC in Toronto to take on the visiting Brooklyn Nets. That's a 7:30 tip-off there, and they wrap their week. Sunday, March the 25th, it's again at the ACC in Toronto. The LA Clippers are in town. 6 p.m. is the tip-off there between the Raptors and the Los Angeles Clippers. Should be a lot of fun this week for the Raptors. Hopefully they can put together another extensive winning streak. That would be kind of nice. It seems that they always tend to do that, though. Whenever they lose a game to break a streak, another one starts right after that. So we'll see if that happens once again. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back after this. Stick around. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, it's a pleasure to be here with you and giving you another episode. What we want to talk about right now on the program is golf, because boy, was it not a fun weekend in the world of golf, especially at Bay Hill at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. What a weekend it was, and more specifically, what a Sunday, because it was all vintage Tiger, man. It was all anybody could talk about. This guy, it's amazing. This time I think his comeback is for real, because the last couple times I don't count him because they were short, they were unsuccessful, they were lacking in any term of real, it just didn't seem like it was the Tiger of old that we were used to, that we really wanted to see when it was his comeback. But again, so at Bay Hill, he's won 8 times there in his career, and he was looking for another victory, and he actually came within a shot of the lead at one point, but unfortunately Tiger could not get it done. It was not his day. On number 16, he blasts his drive out of bounds. He has to shoot again from the tee, shooting 3, and unfortunately makes the first of back-to-back bogeys to take him out. He does finish in a tie for 5th. But the real story on this day, Rory McIlroy, another former number 1, Rory McIlroy. He is the winner of the Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. He shoots an unbelievable 8 under 64 on Sunday to take the crown. At 18 under par, he finishes 3 shots better than Bryson DeChambeau, who shoots a 4 under 68, finishes 3 shots behind at minus 15. Justin Rose has another strong showing, back-to-back weeks. He also had a very good showing at the Valspar Championship. Shoots a minus 5, a 5 under 67 in the final round, good for minus 14. Henrik Stenson, who had the lead heading into the final round, he shot a 1 under 71 and was 5 shots behind McIlroy in the number 4 spot. Tiger Woods, like I said, shot a 3 under par 69, finished at tie for 5 for minus 10. Over the last 3 weeks, he's had very strong showings, and he looks poised to make a lot of noise at the Masters, which will be his next tournament. Rounding out the top 10 was Kevin Chappell, Mark Leishman, Luke List and Sean O'Hare, they all finished at 8 under par and a tie for 7th. The lone Canadian in the tournament was Mackenzie Hughes. He tied for 54th. He shot a 1 under 71 on Sunday to finish at even par. We have 16 days to go until the Masters, where Tiger Woods will hope to win. He has not won on the tour since the 2013 Bridgestone Invitational. He has not won a major since the 2008 U.S. Open, and he has not won a Masters since 2005. The memorable victory over Chris DeMarco in the playoff. Of course, everybody remembers his chip on 16 from the fringe on the par 3. That was just unbelievable. I get goosebumps every time I watch that over and over again. It's truly unbelievable to watch. But yes, that is your golf report. Congratulations, TST puts out to Rory McIlroy, who goes almost 540 days between victories. And it's great to see. You know what? It was a star-studded event. On Sunday, the leaderboard at one point showed the signs of what would be a major type setting, but it was just an Arnold Palmer Invitational, and Tiger showing signs of brilliance, man. He was one shot behind at one point, but quite frankly, it wouldn't have mattered the way McIlroy was playing. He putted unbelievably, and kudos to Rory McIlroy, the winner of the Arnold Palmer Invitational for 2018. This has been your golf report for TST Total Sports Talk. We'll be right back after this. You are watching TST Total Sports Talk. Welcome back to the program, everybody. Andrew Rogers here for TST Total Sports Talk. I am your host and creator of the program. Hope you're enjoying the show thus far. We want to squeeze in one final segment before we close the show. We want to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. Yes, Toronto Blue Jays season is almost upon us. They are back, the boys of summer, and it's poised to be another strong season, I believe. Out is Jose after going through a season where we lost Edwin the last off season. It was it's going to be really interesting not seeing Jose out there in right field this year for the Toronto Blue Jays. But if the pitching can stay healthy and stay consistent, they've added a lot of guys, they've subtracted a lot of guys. It's a really interesting makeup of this team. They could potentially make the playoffs, and they could potentially make some noise, but they're going to have to heavily rely on that starting five in terms of their pitching. And it's going to need to be very, very important. What I want to do now, though, is give my take on who I feel will finish in the specific spots. No records. I don't want to get that in depth. But I will tell you where the seedings will fall in each of the divisions on both the American League side and the National League side. We're going to start in the American League now in the MLB. American League East, I have the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Baltimore Orioles, and the Tampa Bay Rays, 1 through 5 in the AL East. Over in the AL Central, you have the Cleveland Indians, Minnesota Twins, the Chicago White Sox, Kansas City Royals, and Detroit Tigers. And then finally in the American League West, I like the Houston Astros to finish first, Texas Rangers to finish second. You have the LA Angels of Anaheim on third. The Oakland Athletics in fourth, and the Seattle Mariners at fifth. I do really like the Toronto Blue Jays, though, at least to get a wild card position out of this. I expect them to compete with Minnesota and Texas for said wild card positions, and I think the Toronto Blue Jays can make a little bit of noise and potentially get into that playoff scenario. That could be really, really interesting. But yes, I do like the Yankees. I think they'll win the whole American League. I see them being very strong. Now that they've got Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And don't knock Boston off, man. They're just so strong, and they got a lot of depth and they got a lot of talent there. And they could really give New York a run for their money, but it'll be tough. There are a lot of good teams up there. The New Yorks, Bostons, Clevelands, and Houstons of the world. It's going to be tough to knock any of those teams off come playoff time. Want to switch over to the National League now. I want to take a look at the NL East. I like Washington to finish first there, then followed by the Mets, the Philadelphia Phillies, Miami Marlins and the Atlanta Braves. Marlins slipping big time with no Stan, and it's going to be tough for them to compete. NL Central, I like the Cubs, Milwaukee Brewers, Cincinnati Reds, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Chicago Cubs, man, with the addition of Yu Darvish, they're going to absolutely flourish, and they're going to find themselves back in a playoff spot for sure. They're going to win the Central, no question. And then in the NL West, I like the Dodgers to get back there because they haven't lost anybody, but they've only gained. The Dodgers there for sure. Colorado Rockies, Arizona Diamondbacks, you got the San Francisco Giants and the San Diego Padres. All those teams, fantastic, but I like the Dodgers, Cubs, Nationals once again. Expect the Milwaukee Brewers to get there this time around, and expect the Colorado Rockies in the wild card in the National League there. I don't know why I call it just a hunch. J.A. Happ has also been named the starter for the Toronto Blue Jays in their home opener. That'll go March 29th at 3:30, just after 3:30, against the New York Yankees. It's the first of 4 against the Yankees to open the regular season at the Rogers Center, and they will, of course, honor the late, great Roy Halladay with his jersey retirement that night as well. So J.A. Happ named the opening day starter for the Toronto Blue Jays. This wraps the Toronto Blue Jays part of our show, which we will continue to cover them week after week right here on TST. We'll be right back after this. Close the show. We'll be right back. Stick around.
You are watching TST Total Sports Talk.
Welcome back. Andrew Rogers here, the host of TST Total Sports Talk. Just wanting to say one more time, thank you very much for watching this week's episode of TST, episode number 21. Like I said, next week we'll have Chris McGregor on from the Owen Sound Senior B North Stars to talk about them as we get teed up to cover them exclusively right here on TST every week after week once their season gets underway. But we'll give you an idea of what's in store for them coming up. And, we'll just continue to keep covering the WOAA Senior AA Men's Championship. If it keeps going another weekend, we'll definitely get you caught up there. And, the OHL Playoffs will be in full swing. The NHL Playoffs right around the corner. And then the Raptors, of course, their playoffs right around the corner after that. So it should be a lot of fun here in the next couple weeks of TST and Total Sports Talk episodes. Andrew Rogers signing off. Take care, folks, and we'll see you again next week.